Sign the contract, or I'll have your mother's fingers delivered to you one by one. Imani Brooks stared at the man across the mahogany desk, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. Chairman Lee Dae-jung smiled at her, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes, the kind that made her skin crawl. He was 73 years old. Silver hair slicked back. Expensive suit that probably cost more than her college tuition. Liver spots on his hands. But those hands, they'd built an empire. They'd destroyed lives. And now, they were reaching for hers. I don't understand, Imani whispered, though she understood perfectly. She just needed more time. Time to think. Time to find another way out of this nightmare. It's quite simple, Miss Brooks. Chairman Lee leaned back in his leather chair, the picture of refined menace. Your mother borrowed $18 million from my associates. She promised lucrative returns on her little import business. He said it with such disdain, like her mother's 20-year-old company was nothing more than a lemonade stand. Instead, the warehouse burned. The merchandise gone. The insurance denied. And now, the debt remains. Imani's nails dug into her palms. We can pay you back. Give us time. Time? Lee's laugh was dry, humorless. Your mother has had 6 months. 6 months of excuses, delays, and empty promises. My patience, Miss Brooks, has limits. He slid a folder across the desk. Imani didn't want to touch it. Didn't want to see what fresh horror waited inside. Open it. Her hands trembled as she pulled back the cover. Photographs spilled out, her mother leaving their apartment in Chicago. Her mother at the grocery store. Her mother at the hospital for her chemotherapy appointment last week. Someone had been following her. Watching her. You sick bastard, Imani started to stand, but Lee raised one finger. Sit. Down. Something in his voice made her obey. It wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive. It was the voice of a man who'd never been told no in his life and survived every person who tried. Your mother is dying, isn't she? Lee asked, almost gently. Stage 3 breast cancer. Aggressive. The treatments are expensive, even with insurance. And without your income. He trailed off, letting the implication hang in the air. Imani's throat tightened. She dropped out of law school to help pay the bills. Started working double shifts at the restaurant. Sold everything that wasn't nailed down. It still wasn't enough. It was never enough. What do you want from me? The words came out broken. Lee's smile widened. I want you to marry me. The room tilted. For a moment, Imani thought she'd misheard. Marry him? This man was old enough to be her grandfather. This man was. I can see you're surprised. Lee stood and walked around the desk with slow, deliberate steps. Let me be clear about my expectations. He stopped in front of her. Too close. Close enough that she could smell his cologne, expensive, cloying, suffocating. I'm 73 years old, Miss Brooks, but I assure you I am very much alive. Very much. Capable. His eyes traveled down her body in a way that made bile rise in her throat. I've built my empire. I've crushed my enemies. And now, I want something beautiful to enjoy in my final years. You want a trophy, Imani said flatly. I want a wife. His hand reached out, fingers grazing her cheek. Imani flinched but didn't pull away. A young, beautiful, obedient wife who will warm my bed, bear my name, and stand beside me in public. In return, your mother's debt disappears. Her medical bills paid in full. A trust fund established for her care. And when I die. He paused, tilting his head. Well, let's just say widows in my world are very well taken care of. Imani jerked away from his touch. You want me to sleep with you. I want you to be my wife in every sense of the word. Lee returned to his chair, utterly unbothered by her disgust. The ceremony will be private. Immediate. You'll move into my estate in Los Angeles. You'll accompany me to social functions. You'll share my bed. And you'll smile while doing it. And if I refuse? Lee's expression hardened. Then your mother's debt will be collected. With interest. I'm told she's quite attached to her fingers. Her toes. Her teeth. He picked up a pen, clicking it idly. My associates are very creative when it comes to debt collection. They'll keep her alive, of course. Alive and suffering. And you'll get to watch, knowing you could have prevented it. Imani's vision blurred. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. 1 year, she choked out. Give me 1 year, and then. No. Lee's voice was final. No divorce. No separation. You'll be my wife until death do us part. Mine could come tomorrow. Could come in 10 years. But until then, you belong to me. The folder still lay open on the desk. Beneath the surveillance photos, Imani saw another document. A marriage contract. Already prepared. Already notarized. All it needed was her signature. I need time to think. You have 60 seconds. Lee checked his Rolex. After that, I make a phone call, and your mother loses the first finger. You're insane. 30 seconds. Imani's mind raced. There had to be another way. Alone. 15 seconds. Her mother's face flashed in her mind. Gaunt from chemo. Exhausted. But still fighting. Still trying to smile when Imani visited. I'm so sorry, baby. I never meant for any of this to happen. Lee picked up his phone. Wait. Imani lurched forward, grabbing the pen. Her hand shook so badly she could barely hold it. I'll do it. I'll marry you. Lee's smile returned. Wise choice. Imani pressed the pen to paper. Her signature looked wrong, jagged, desperate, nothing like the confident loops she'd practiced for law school applications. The moment the ink dried, Lee stood. The ceremony is tomorrow evening. 6 o'clock. My estate in Brentwood. Wear white. He walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and Miss Brooks. Don't even think about running. I have eyes everywhere. If you disappear, your mother pays the price. The door clicked shut behind him. Imani sat alone in the office, staring at her signature on the contract. She just sold herself to a monster. Sold her body, her freedom, her future. But her mother would live. That had to be enough. It had to be. The next 24 hours passed in a blur. Imani went home to the cramped 2-bedroom apartment she shared with her mother. She didn't tell her what she'd agreed to. Couldn't. Her mother was asleep, exhausted from treatment, and Imani stood in the doorway just watching her breathe. I'm doing this for you, she thought. You're going to hate me when you find out. But you'll be alive to hate me. That night, she barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Chairman Lee's hands reaching for her. Felt his breath on her skin. By morning, a package arrived. Inside, a wedding dress. White silk, fitted, elegant. Beautiful. And a note in Lee's handwriting, wear nothing underneath. Imani threw up in the bathroom. The car arrived at 4 o'clock, a black Mercedes with tinted windows and a driver who didn't speak. Imani sat in the back, the dress wrapped in plastic beside her, and watched Chicago disappear through the window. They drove to a private airfield. A jet waited. Where are we going? Imani asked. Los Angeles, the driver said. His first and only words to her. The flight took 4 hours. Imani didn't eat. Didn't drink. Just stared out the window at the clouds and wondered if she jumped, would it be quick? By the time they landed, the sun was setting over Los Angeles, all golden light and smog and palm trees. The city looked beautiful. Like a postcard. Like a lie. Another car. Another silent drive. The Lee estate was in Brentwood, hidden behind high walls and iron gates. The house itself was massive, modernist architecture, all glass and stone, built into the hillside with a view of the city below. Imani was led to a bedroom suite. You have 1 hour to prepare, a stern-faced woman told her. Korean accent. Cold eyes. The ceremony begins at 6. Do not be late. The door locked behind her. Imani stared at the wedding dress laid out on the bed. White silk. Delicate lace. A noose disguised as couture. She wanted to rip it apart. Burn it. Scream. Instead, she put it on. The dress fit perfectly. Of course it did. Lee had probably studied every inch of her body in those surveillance photos. Knew her measurements better than she did. She stared at herself in the mirror. The woman looking back was a stranger, elegant, poised, and utterly terrified. A knock at the door. It's time. The ceremony was held in a private hall on the estate grounds. Imani was escorted by 2 silent guards who positioned themselves at her sides like jailers. The room was nearly empty. Maybe 20 people, all Korean, all watching her with expressions ranging from curiosity to contempt. She was the outsider. The black American girl who'd somehow trapped their patriarch. If only they knew the truth. At the front of the room stood a priest or someone dressed like one. He looked nervous, sweating despite the air conditioning. And beside him, Chairman Lee. He wore a black tuxedo that probably cost more than a car. His silver hair gleamed under the lights. He smiled when he saw her, and Imani's stomach turned. This is it. No going back now. She walked down the aisle alone. Each step felt like walking to her own execution. The guards stayed close, making sure she didn't run. As if she could. She reached the altar. Lee took her hand, his skin papery, dry, cold. You look exquisite, he murmured. His thumb stroked her knuckles. I'm going to enjoy every moment of tonight. Imani's jaw clenched. She stared straight ahead, refusing to look at him. The priest opened his book. Dearly beloved. The doors at the back of the hall burst open. Everyone turned. 3 men strode in. No, not men. Predators. They moved with lethal grace, dressed in black suits, faces cold and expressionless. But it was the man in the center who made the room freeze. He was young, mid-30s maybe. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Korean features that could have been carved from stone. His hair was dark, swept back, and his eyes. Black. Empty. Like staring into an abyss. He walked down the aisle as if he owned it. As if he owned everything. Chairman Lee's hand tightened on Imani's. What are you doing here? The young man stopped 3 feet away. His gaze flicked to Imani, a brief, assessing look that made her feel naked despite the dress, then back to Lee. Did you think I wouldn't find out, old man? His voice was low, controlled, American accent with the barest hint of Korean underneath. You're marrying today. In my city. Without my permission. I don't need your permission. Yes. You do. The young man stepped closer. Every move you make in Los Angeles goes through me. Every deal. Every shipment. Every breath you take happens because I allow it. He tilted his head. So I'll ask again. What makes you think you can hold a wedding without my blessing? Lee's face reddened. This is a private family matter. Is it? The young man's eyes cut to Imani again. This time, he held her gaze. Who is she? None of your concern. I'll decide what concerns me. He took another step, close enough now that Imani could see the scar along his jawline. Old. Faded. But vicious. Her name. Imani Brooks, Lee spat. She's no one. An American girl. I'm marrying her to pay off her mother's debt. The young man finished. 18 million. Borrowed from the Jade Syndicate 6 months ago. Defaulted after the warehouse fire. He smiled, but it was the smile of a shark. Did you think I didn't have eyes on that deal? Imani's blood ran cold. How did he know? Lee's hand was shaking now. Beck. Chairman Lee. The young man, Beck, said it like a title and an insult. You're standing in my territory, using my resources, collecting debts tied to my money. And you didn't think to inform me? It was a private loan. There are no private loans in Los Angeles. Beck's voice dropped to something deadly. Everything here belongs to me. One of Lee's guards stepped forward. Beck didn't even look at him. One of his own men moved, a blur of motion, and suddenly the guard was on the ground, unconscious. The room erupted. Gasps. Shouts. Beck raised one hand, and silence fell like a guillotine. Here's what's going to happen, he said calmly. This wedding is cancelled. The girl goes free. And you, Chairman Lee, will return to Korea and never set foot in my city again. No. Lee's voice shook with rage. No. She signed a contract. She's mine. She's not yours. Beck's eyes were black ice. She never was. Lee pulled Imani closer, his grip bruising. I paid for her. I own her. Beck moved. One moment he was 3 feet away. The next, his hand was wrapped around Lee's throat, slamming him against the altar. Imani stumbled back, heart racing. You don't own anything, Beck said softly. You're a guest in my city, old man. And you just overstayed your welcome. Lee clawed at Beck's hand, choking. You can't. I can. I will. Beck leaned in close. And if you ever come near her again, I'll gut you in front of your entire family. Do you understand? Lee's face was turning purple. I said, do you understand? A strangled nod. Beck released him. Lee collapsed, gasping, clutching his throat. Beck straightened his suit jacket and turned to Imani. Up close, he was even more terrifying. Beautiful, yes, devastatingly so, but there was nothing soft in those eyes. Nothing human. Come with me, he said. Imani didn't move. Who are you? Someone who just saved your life. He held out his hand. Now come. Before I change my mind. Imani looked at Chairman Lee, still gasping on the floor. Then at the guards, frozen in fear. Then at the exit, so close, but surrounded by Beck's men. She had no choice. She took his hand. His grip was strong, steady, and impossibly warm. Beck led her down the aisle, past the stunned witnesses, and out into the Los Angeles night. A black SUV waited, engine running. Get in, Beck said. Where are we? In. Now. Imani climbed into the back seat. Beck slid in beside her, and the door slammed shut. The driver pulled away immediately, tires screeching. Imani's heart hammered. What just happened? Beck didn't answer. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Spoke rapid Korean. Ended the call. Then he turned to her, and for the first time, she saw something that might have been curiosity in his expression. Your mother, he said. Madam Brooks. Where is she? Chicago. Why? Because she lied to you. Beck's voice was flat. About everything. Imani's blood went cold. What are you talking about? Beck leaned back, studying her like she was a puzzle. Your mother didn't borrow money for a business deal. She borrowed it to pay off an old debt. A debt from 20 years ago, when she worked for my family. That's insane. My mother has never. Your mother was one of the best smugglers on the West Coast. Beck's eyes never left hers. She moved product for my father. Made millions. And then one day, she vanished. Took something that didn't belong to her and disappeared. You're lying. I don't lie. Beck pulled out a tablet, swiped through several photos, and held it up. Imani's world tilted. The woman in the photo was younger, mid-20s maybe, with bright eyes and a confident smile. But it was unmistakably her mother. Standing beside a man in a sharp suit. Holding a briefcase. That's my father, Beck said quietly. 6 months before he was killed. Imani couldn't breathe. So you see, Beck continued, when I heard Chairman Lee was collecting a debt in Los Angeles, I investigated. And I found something very interesting. He leaned closer. Your mother stole $20 million from my family. She's been hiding for 2 decades. And now. He smiled, cold and sharp. She sent you to pay the price. No. Imani shook her head violently. No, she would never. Wouldn't she? Beck's voice was soft. Deadly. Think about it. The warehouse fire. The denied insurance. The debt that conveniently forces you into a marriage. It's too perfect. Too planned. Stop. Tears burned Imani's eyes. Just stop. I can't. Beck's expression didn't change. Because now you're involved. And in my world, debts are paid in blood. The SUV pulled through another set of gates, a different estate, even larger than Lee's. The car stopped in front of a massive house, all modern glass and steel. Where are we? Imani whispered. My home. Beck opened the door and stepped out. Welcome, Miss Brooks. You're going to be here for a while. What? No, I'm leaving. You're not. Beck leaned back into the car, and his eyes were black voids. You walked into my territory. You're tied to a debt 20 years in the making. And until I decide what to do with you. He smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing Imani had ever seen. You belong to me now. The door slammed shut. Guards appeared, silent, armed, terrifying. Imani was trapped. She'd escaped one monster, only to fall into the hands of something far worse. Baek Jin-woo. The White Wolf. And in his world, there was no such thing as mercy. The guest room was a prison dressed in luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Los Angeles skyline, a sea of lights glittering against the darkness like broken stars. The bed was massive, draped in silk sheets that probably cost more than Imani's entire wardrobe. Abstract art hung on the walls. A chandelier sparkled overhead. And the door was locked from the outside. Imani had tried it 17 times in the last hour. 17 times, the handle refused to turn. She'd pounded on it, screamed, demanded to be let out. No one came. Now she stood at the window, still wearing the wedding dress, her reflection ghostly in the glass. Behind her, the room looked like something from a magazine. In front of her, Los Angeles sprawled endlessly, a city full of people who had no idea she existed. No idea she'd just become a prisoner. Her phone was gone. They'd taken it in the car. Her purse gone. Even her shoes had been removed, leaving her barefoot on cold marble floors. Think, Imani. Think. But every thought led back to the same nightmare, her mother. Her mother, who'd supposedly worked for the Korean Mafia. Who'd stolen $20 million. Who'd been hiding for 2 decades. It couldn't be true. Her mother was a businesswoman. Tough, yes. Street smart, absolutely. But a smuggler? A thief? No. Beck is lying. He has to be. Except those photos. Her mother's face, younger but unmistakable. Standing beside Beck's father like they were partners. Imani's chest tightened. She pressed her forehead against the cool glass. "Mom," she whispered. "What did you do?" A soft click made her spin around. The door opened. A woman entered, mid-40s, Korean, dressed in a sleek black pantsuit that screamed authority. Her hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and her eyes were sharp, assessing, missing nothing. "Miss Brooks." Her English was perfect, barely accented. "I'm Soyeon. I manage Mr. Beck's household and other affairs. I want to leave," Imani said immediately. Soyeon's expression didn't change. "That's not possible. You can't keep me here. This is kidnapping. Is it?" Soyeon walked further into the room, her heels clicking against marble. "You came willingly into the vehicle. You're being housed in comfort. Federation protected." She tilted her head. "From where I stand, Mr. Beck has shown you considerable mercy." "Mercy?" Imani's voice rose. "He dragged me here against my will. He saved you from becoming Chairman Lee's plaything." Soyeon's voice was cold. "Do you know what that man does to his wives? The last one tried to run after 3 months. They found pieces of her in the Angeles National Forest." She paused, letting that sink in. "So yes. Mercy." Imani's stomach churned. "I need to call my mother. Your mother is currently under surveillance in Chicago. She's safe. For now." Soyeon moved to the closet and opened it, revealing an entire wardrobe, clothes in Imani's size, everything from casual wear to evening gowns. "Mr. Beck will see you tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. sharp. Until then, you'll remain in this room. And if I refuse?" Soyeon's smile was razor-thin. "Then you'll be carried to the meeting. Your choice." She turned to leave. "Wait." Imani's voice cracked. "Why am I here? What does he want from me?" Soyeon paused at the door. "What he wants, Miss Brooks, is answers. Your mother stole from the Beck family. She humiliated them. And now, 20 years later, you've walked right into his hands." Her eyes gleamed. "In our world, debts are always collected. One way or another." The door closed. Locked. Imani was alone again. She sank onto the edge of the bed, the wedding dress pooling around her like a shroud. Her mind raced through possibilities, escape routes, bargaining chips, ways to contact the outside world. But every scenario ended the same way. She was trapped. And the only person who could free her was the man who'd claimed she belonged to him. Imani didn't sleep. She paced the room until her feet ached. Tried the window, reinforced glass, impossible to break. Searched for cameras, found 3, tiny and discreet, watching her every move. By the time dawn broke over Los Angeles, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Imani was exhausted. Wired. Terrified. At exactly 8:30 a.m., Soyeon returned. "Mr. Beck is ready for you." Imani had changed out of the wedding dress into jeans and a simple black shirt from the closet. She'd refused to wear anything too nice. Refused to play whatever game this was. Soyeon's eyes flicked over her outfit, but she said nothing. Just gestured to the door. 2 guards waited in the hallway, both Korean, both built like tanks. They fell into step behind Imani as Soyeon led her through the house. It was even more massive than Imani had realized. Hallways branched off in every direction. Rooms with closed doors. The decor was minimalist, expensive, tasteful. Everything white and grey and black, like the house itself was designed to be emotionless. They descended a grand staircase into a foyer with marble floors and a chandelier that looked like it belonged in a palace. Then through a set of double doors into an office. No, a command center. The room was enormous, dominated by a wall of monitors showing security feeds from across what had to be the entire estate. A massive desk sat in the center, sleek black wood, covered in files and tablets. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked a pool and garden, Los Angeles stretching beyond. And behind the desk, dressed in a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, sat Baek Jinwoo. He didn't look up when they entered. Just continued reading something on his tablet, his expression unreadable. Soyeon cleared her throat. "Miss Brooks, as requested." "Leave us," Baek said without looking up. Soyeon hesitated. "Sir. I said leave." The woman's jaw tightened, but she bowed slightly and retreated. The guards followed, and the door clicked shut. Silence stretched between them. Imani stood in the center of the room, refusing to sit, refusing to show fear even as her heart hammered. Finally, Baek set down the tablet and looked at her. In daylight, he was even more striking. Sharp cheekbones, strong jaw, that scar barely visible along his jawline. His eyes were dark, unreadable, but there was an intelligence behind them that was somehow worse than cruelty. This was a man who calculated, planned, never acted on impulse. "Sit," he said. "I'll stand." His eyebrow raised fractionally. "Brave. Or foolish. I haven't decided which yet." "I'm not here by choice," Imani shot back. "So excuse me if I don't follow your orders. You're here because your mother's choices put you here." Baek leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. "And you'll sit, Miss Brooks, because standing makes you look like you're preparing to run. And if you run," he smiled, cold, "my men will catch you before you reach the gate. And I'll have to decide whether you're worth the trouble of keeping alive." Imani's blood went cold. But she moved to the chair opposite his desk and sat, spine straight, chin up. "Better," Baek murmured. "Now, let's talk about your mother." "There's nothing to talk about." "You're wrong about her." "Am I?" Baek opened a drawer and pulled out a thick file. He dropped it on the desk between them. "Madam Brooks. Born in Atlanta. Moved to Los Angeles in 1999. Started working for my father's organization in 2000 as a courier. By 2003, she was running entire operations, moving product from Mexico to Seattle, from Seattle to Chicago." He opened the file, revealing photos, documents, receipts. "She was good. One of the best. Made my father a lot of money." Imani stared at the evidence. Her mother's face in photo after photo. Younger, harder, standing beside men in expensive suits. Loading trucks. Shaking hands with people who looked like criminals because they were criminals. "No," Imani whispered. "Yes." Baek's voice was implacable. "In 2005, your mother was given her biggest job yet. Transport 20 million in cash from Los Angeles to New York. A simple run. She'd done it a dozen times before." He flipped to another page. "Except this time, she never arrived. The money vanished. She vanished. My father sent people looking for her. They searched for 3 years. He looked up, and his eyes were black ice. Until he was killed in 2008. And then, the search stopped. If she stole from you, why didn't you keep looking?" Imani demanded. "Because I was 17 when my father died. Fighting to hold his empire together. Fighting off rivals who thought a teenage boy couldn't lead." Baek's jaw tightened. "I had bigger problems than one missing smuggler. So I let it go. Assumed she'd died. Assumed the money was gone forever. He closed the file. And then 6 months ago, I get a report. Madam Brooks in Chicago. Running a legitimate import business. And suddenly owing $18 million to Chairman Lee's people. Imani's mind raced. That doesn't prove she stole from you. It proves she's alive. And it proves she needed money badly enough to borrow from Lee. Beck leaned forward. Why? What happened to the $20 million she stole? Where did it go? I don't know. Liar. I'm not lying. Imani's voice rose. I don't know anything about this. My mother built her company from the ground up. She worked her ass off. With stolen money, Beck interrupted. That's how she started, isn't it? The original capital for her business. $20 million, laundered through real estate and shell companies. He pulled out another document. I've had my people digging through her finances for the last 24 hours. Your mother is very good at hiding money, but not good enough. He slid the document across the desk. Imani's hands shook as she picked it up. Bank statements. Property records. All in her mother's name. All showing transactions from 2005 onward, deposits, purchases, investments. All funded by money that didn't exist before 2005. Oh my God, Imani breathed. Now you're starting to understand. Beck's voice was softer now. Almost gentle. Your mother stole from my family. She used that money to build a new life. And when that life collapsed, when the warehouse burned and the business failed, she borrowed more money she couldn't pay back. Money from men who don't forgive debts. He paused. And then she offered her daughter as collateral. No. Tears burned Imani's eyes. She wouldn't. She did. Beck's expression didn't change. The contract you signed with Chairman Lee? Your mother negotiated every term. She knew exactly what she was sending you into. Imani's world shattered. Her mother. Her mother who'd raised her alone. Who'd worked double shifts to send her to college. Who'd cried when Imani got into law school. That same mother had sold her to a predator. I'm going to be sick, Imani whispered. There's a bathroom through that door. Beck gestured to the left. Take your time. Imani stumbled to the bathroom and barely made it to the toilet before she vomited. Everything in her stomach, which was nothing, since she hadn't eaten, came up in painful heaves. When she finally stopped, she leaned against the cool tile floor, shaking. This can't be real. This can't be real. But it was. Everything Beck had shown her, the photos, the documents, the timeline, it all fit. All those years when her mother had been building the business, she'd been spending stolen money. All those times she'd been networking, she'd been covering her tracks. And when it all fell apart, she'd sacrificed her daughter to save herself. A soft knock on the door. Miss Brooks. Imani didn't answer. I'm sending food up to your room. You need to eat. Go to hell, Imani said hoarsely. Silence. Then, your anger is understandable. But it's misdirected. I'm not your enemy. Imani laughed bitterly. You're keeping me prisoner. I'm keeping you alive. Beck's voice was closer now, just outside the door. Chairman Lee wanted you. He still wants you. If I let you go, he'll find you within 24 hours. And this time, there won't be anyone to stop him. Why do you care? Because you're leverage. Beck's words were blunt, brutal. Your mother stole from me. You're her daughter. Which means I can use you to get what I want. And what do you want? My money back. And your mother's head. Imani's blood ran cold. She forced herself to stand, washed her face in the sink, and opened the door. Beck stood just outside, hands in his pockets, watching her with those unreadable eyes. You can't kill my mother, Imani said quietly. Can't I? She's sick. Stage 3 cancer. If you kill her, then she dies a little sooner than expected. Beck's voice was flat. She betrayed my family. Dishonored my father's memory. In my world, that's a death sentence. Let me talk to her. The words came out desperate. Let me call her. Maybe she has the money hidden somewhere. Maybe she can pay you back. $20 million. Plus interest. Over 20 years. Beck's smile was humorless. That's $43 million, Miss Brooks. Does your mother strike you as someone with $43 million hidden away? Imani's shoulders sagged. No. Then we have a problem. Beck moved closer. Close enough that she could smell his cologne, cedar and smoke, masculine and dangerous. Your mother can't pay. Which means the debt falls to you. I don't have that kind of money. I know. Beck tilted his head, studying her. But you have something else. Imani's heart raced. What? Yourself. The word hung in the air like a blade. You were going to marry Chairman Lee, Beck continued. You were prepared to sell yourself to save your mother. To endure an old man's touch, his bed, his degradation, all to clear a debt. His eyes never left hers. So here's my offer. Marry me instead. Imani's breath caught. What? Marry me. Be my wife. In public, in private, in every way that matters. Beck's voice was calm, businesslike. In exchange, I'll consider your mother's debt paid. She lives out her final months in peace. And you. He paused. You belong to me. That's insane. Is it? Beck's expression didn't change. You were willing to do it for Lee. A man who would have brutalized you, used you, destroyed you. I'm offering the same deal, but with rules. What rules? You live here. You accompany me to social functions. You play the role of dutiful wife. Beck's eyes darkened. And you share my bed when I require it. Imani's hands clenched into fists. You want me to be your whore. I want you to be my wife. Beck's voice hardened. There's a difference. A whore is temporary. A wife is permanent. And in my world, marriage is binding. No divorce. No separation. Until death. Why? Imani demanded. Why do you want this? You could have anyone. I don't want anyone. Beck moved even closer, and Imani's back hit the doorframe. She was trapped. I want you. Because you're your mother's daughter. Because every time I look at you, I'll remember what she took from me. And every time I touch you. His hand reached up, fingers ghosting along her jaw. I'll be taking something back. Imani jerked away from his touch. You're sick. I'm practical. Beck lowered his hand. You have two choices, Miss Brooks. Marry me, and your mother lives. Refuse, and I'll have her killed within the week. Then I'll sell you to the highest bidder. There are plenty of men like Chairman Lee who'd pay a fortune for someone like you. Tears burned Imani's eyes. I hate you. You don't know me well enough to hate me yet. Beck stepped back, giving her space. But you will. In time. He turned and walked back to his desk, leaving Imani trembling in the bathroom doorway. You have until tonight to decide, Beck said without looking at her. 9 p.m. Come to my office with your answer. Choose wisely. Soyeon appeared at the door. Miss Brooks. I'll escort you back to your room. Imani followed numbly, her mind spinning. Marry Beck Jin-woo. The White Wolf. The man who wanted revenge against her mother. Or let her mother die. Some choice. At 8:55 p.m., Imani stood outside Beck's office, her hand raised to knock. She'd spent the entire day in her room, pacing, thinking, screaming into pillows. She'd tried to find another way out. Tried to think of a plan, an escape, anything. But every scenario ended the same way. Her mother would die. And Imani couldn't let that happen. No matter what her mother had done, the lies, the theft, the betrayal, she was still Imani's mother. Still the woman who'd raised her. Still the woman fighting cancer. Imani couldn't sentence her to death. Even if it meant selling herself to a monster. She knocked. Enter. Beck sat behind his desk, reading something on his tablet. He looked up when she entered, and his expression gave nothing away. Miss Brooks. Right on time. Imani closed the door behind her and walked to the center of the room. She'd dressed carefully, black jeans, a simple white blouse, her hair pulled back. Armor, of a sort. I have my answer, she said. Beck set down the tablet. I'm listening. I'll marry you. The words tasted like ash. But I have conditions. His eyebrow raised. You're negotiating? You said marriage. That means partnership. Which means I get a say. Imani's voice was steadier than she felt. So here are my terms. You leave my mother alone. Completely. No surveillance. No threats. She lives out her life in peace. Agreed. Second. I want to talk to her. Once a week. Phone calls. Video calls. Whatever. But I need to know she's okay. Agreed. Third. Imani took a breath. You don't touch me unless I consent. I'll share your bed if required. I'll play the role in public. But behind closed doors, I need boundaries. Beck was silent for a long moment. Then he stood and walked around the desk, stopping a few feet from her. No, he said quietly. Imani's heart sank. What? I agree to the first 2 terms. But the third, no. Beck's eyes were dark, intense. You'll be my wife, Miss Brooks. In every sense. No negotiations. No boundaries. That's marriage. Beck's voice was calm, matter-of-fact. I'll always need your consent, of course. I'm not an animal. Imani's hands shook with rage. You're a monster. I'm a businessman. Beck tilted his head. And I'm offering you a better deal than Chairman Lee ever would. He would have taken you by force. Hurt you. Degraded you. I'm asking for your consent with the understanding that refusing has consequences. That's not consent. It's the only kind you're going to get. Beck's expression didn't change. So, do we have a deal? Or do I make a phone call to Chicago? Imani closed her eyes. Thought of her mother. Thought of the life she'd had, the future she'd planned. All of it gone. When? She asked hoarsely. When what? When do you want to marry? Beck smiled. Tomorrow night. I've already arranged everything. Of course he had. And after? Imani opened her eyes. What happens after we're married? You live here. You learn how to be my wife. You accompany me to functions, meetings, events. You smile. You don't embarrass me. Beck's voice was even, controlled. And in private, you do as I say. Without question. Without hesitation. And if I refuse, then I'll remind you what's at stake. Beck stepped closer. Your mother's life hangs by a thread, Miss Brooks. I'm the one holding the scissors. Remember that. Imani's jaw clenched. I'll remember. Good. Beck returned to his desk. So-Yun will help you prepare tomorrow. The ceremony is at 8 p.m. private. Immediate family only. I thought you said. My family. Not yours. Beck's eyes glinted. Your mother doesn't get to see you married. She doesn't get to know where you are. That's part of the deal. She'll worry. She should have thought of that before she sold you. Beck's voice was cold. Now leave. I have work to do. Imani turned and walked to the door, her legs shaking. Miss Brooks. She paused, hand on the handle. Tomorrow night, Beck said quietly, you become mine. Permanently. Irrevocably. There's no going back from this. No divorce. No escape. He paused. So if you're going to run, do it now. Before it's too late. Imani looked back at him. And my mother dies screaming. Imani's hand tightened on the door handle. Then she pulled it open and walked out. She didn't run. There was nowhere to run to. The next day passed in a blur of preparation. So-Yun arrived at dawn with a team, stylists, seamstresses, makeup artists. They descended on Imani like a swarm, measuring, pinning, painting. Mr. Beck wants you perfect, So-Yun said as they worked. You represent him now. His status. His power. I'm not a doll, Imani muttered. No. You're a weapon. So-Yun's eyes met hers in the mirror. And weapons must be sharp. The dress they'd chosen was stunning white silk, form-fitting, with a high neck and long sleeves. Elegant. Modest. But it clung to every curve, leaving nothing to the imagination. I look like a virgin sacrifice, Imani said bitterly. So-Yun's lips twitched. Accurate. By evening, Imani barely recognized herself. Her hair was styled in intricate braids, woven with tiny white flowers. Her makeup was flawless, smoky eyes, nude lips, skin glowing. Diamond earrings sparkled at her ears, a gift from Beck. She looked like a bride. She felt like a prisoner. At 7:45 p.m., So-Yun led her downstairs to a different room, a private chapel on the estate grounds. Small. Intimate. Lit by candles. About 20 people filled the pews. All Korean. All watching her with expressions ranging from curiosity to disdain. And at the altar, Dressed in a black tuxedo that made him look like a dark prince, stood Baek Jinwoo. He didn't smile when he saw her. Just watched with those unreadable eyes as she walked down the aisle alone. No music. No fanfare. Just the sound of her heels on marble and her heart breaking with every step. She reached the altar. Baek's hand extended, and she took it. His grip was warm. Steady. You came, he murmured. Did I have a choice? No. His thumb stroked her knuckles. But I'm glad you understand that. The priest began speaking in Korean. Imoni didn't understand a word. But she understood the rhythm. The cadence. Marriage vows. Binding. Permanent. When the priest gestured to Baek, he spoke in Korean a long string of words that sounded like promises. Or threats. Then the priest turned to Imoni. Repeat after me, Baek said quietly, translating. I, Imoni Brooks, take you, Baek Jinwoo, as my husband. To honor and obey. In this life and the next. Until death claims us both. Imoni's throat tightened. Baek's hand tightened on hers. A warning. I, Imoni Brooks, she forced out, take you, Baek Jinwoo, as my husband. To honor and obey. In this life and the next. Until death claims us both. The priest nodded, satisfied. He said something else in Korean. Baek reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring platinum with a massive black diamond. He slid it onto Imoni's finger. It was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. And the heaviest. The priest spoke again. Baek translated. You may kiss the bride. Imoni's breath caught. Baek stepped closer, his hand cupping her face. His thumb traced her cheekbone, and for a moment, something almost human flickered in his eyes. Then he leaned in and kissed her. It wasn't gentle. Wasn't soft. It was possession. Pure and absolute. His lips claimed hers, his hand fisting in her hair, pulling her closer. Imoni gasped against his mouth, and he deepened the kiss, his tongue sliding against hers in a way that made her knees weak. When he finally pulled back, her lips were swollen, her breath ragged. Baek's eyes were dark with something dangerous. Mine, he whispered against her lips. Now and always. The guests erupted in applause. Imoni stood frozen, Baek's arm around her waist, the ring heavy on her finger. She just married the White Wolf. And there was no going back. The reception was worse than the ceremony. Baek's family descended on them, aunts, uncles, cousins, all speaking rapid Korean, all studying Imoni like she was an exotic animal in a zoo. She smiled. Nodded. Pretended she wasn't dying inside. Baek stayed close, his hand always on her, her waist, her back, her hand. Claiming her. Marking her as his in front of everyone. You're doing well, he murmured during a brief moment alone. Go to hell, Imoni said through her smile. His laugh was soft, dark. We're already there, Mrs. Baek. Mrs. Baek. The name felt like shackles. Dinner was an elaborate affair, course after course of Korean dishes Imoni couldn't name, wine that cost more than her college tuition, toasts in a language she didn't understand. Through it all, Baek played the perfect groom. Attentive. Affectionate. His hand never leaving hers. And all Imoni could think about was what came after. The wedding night. When the clock struck midnight, Baek stood and offered his hand. It's time, he said quietly. The guests erupted in knowing laughter. Catcalls. Someone shouted something in Korean that made everyone howl. Imoni's face burned. Baek led her out of the reception hall, through the house, up a grand staircase. They passed her guest room, still locked, and continued down another hallway. To his room. Baek opened the door and gestured for her to enter. The master suite was enormous. King-sized bed with black silk sheets. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. A fireplace. A sitting area. And everywhere evidence of the man who lived here. Books in Korean and English. A katana mounted on the wall. Expensive watches in a glass case. The door closed behind them with a soft click. Imoni's heart raced. Baek shrugged off his tuxedo jacket and draped it over a chair. Then he rolled up his sleeves, revealing forearms corded with muscle and scars. Old ones. New ones. Some looked like knife wounds. Others like burns. You're staring, Baek said without looking at her. You're covered in scars. Occupational hazard. He poured himself a drink from a crystal decanter. Whiskey? No. Suit yourself. He took a sip, then turned to face her. You can stop standing by the door. I'm not going to attack you. Could have fooled me, Imani muttered. I said I'd require your consent. Beck's eyes glinted. I never said I'd make it easy. He set down his glass and walked toward her. Slow. Deliberate. Imani's back hit the door. Beck stopped inches away, one hand braced against the door beside her head. He was so close she could feel the heat radiating off him. You're afraid, he observed. I'm smart. Same thing, in my world. His free hand reached up, fingers trailing along her jaw. But you don't need to be. Not tonight. What? Beck's smile was cold. I'm not going to touch you. Not yet. Imani blinked. But you said. I said you'd be my wife in every sense. And you will be. His thumb traced her lower lip. But I'm not Lee. I don't need to force you. I don't need to take what isn't freely given. He leaned in, his breath warm against her ear. I'm going to make you want me, Imani. I'm going to make you beg for my touch. And when you finally come to me willingly, desperately, that's when I'll take you. Imani's breath caught. That'll never happen. Won't it? Beck's hand slid down, fingers tracing the line of her throat. You're already trembling. Already wondering what it would feel like. My hands on your skin. My mouth on yours. My body. Stop. Imani's voice shook. Beck pulled back, smirking. See? Easy. He turned and walked to the bed, sitting on the edge and pulling off his shoes. What are you doing? Imani asked. Getting ready for bed. It's late. He glanced at her. You can take the bathroom first. Your things are already in there. Imani hesitated. Where am I sleeping? Beck gestured to the bed. Here. With you. We're married. Married people share a bed. His eyes gleamed. Don't worry. I'll keep my hands to myself. Tonight. Imani didn't move. Unless you'd prefer I don't. Beck tilted his head. I can touch you now, if you'd like. Get it over with. No. Imani bolted for the bathroom, slamming the door behind her. Beck's laughter followed her. The bathroom was as luxurious as the rest of the suite. Marble everywhere. A shower that could fit 6 people. A soaking tub. And on the counter, her things. Toiletries. Pajamas, silk, because of course. Imani washed her face, removed her makeup, brushed her teeth. Stared at herself in the mirror. The ring glinted on her finger. Mrs. Beck. She wanted to scream. Instead, she changed into the pajamas, a black silk set that was far too revealing, and steeled herself. When she emerged, Beck was already in bed, shirtless, reading something on his tablet. Imani froze at the sight of him. He was beautiful. In a dangerous, predatory way. Broad shoulders. Defined chest and abs. More scars, crisscrossing his torso like a roadmap of violence. See something you like? Beck asked without looking up. No, Imani lied. Liar. He set down the tablet and looked at her. His eyes traveled down her body, slow and deliberate. Come to bed, wife. Imani forced herself to move. She climbed onto the far side of the bed, as close to the edge as possible, and pulled the covers up. Beck turned off the lamp. Darkness swallowed the room. Imani lay rigid, every muscle tense, waiting for him to move. To touch her. To relax, Beck said quietly. I told you. Not tonight. Why should I believe you? Because I keep my word. A pause. Unlike your mother. Imani's jaw clenched. Don't talk about her. Why? She's the reason you're here. The reason you're in my bed right now, wearing those ridiculous pajamas, wondering if I'm going to keep my promise. She heard him shift, felt the mattress dip. You should hate her. For what she did. For what she turned you into. I don't hate her. You will. Beck's voice was soft. When you finally accept what she is. What she's always been. A thief. A coward. A woman who'd sacrifice her own daughter to save her skin. Tears burned Imani's eyes. Shut up. Make me. I hate you, Imani whispered. Good. Beck's voice was closer now. Right behind her. Hate me. Fear me. It doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, you're still mine. And you always will be. Imani closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. She'd married a monster. And he was right. She'd never escape. 3 weeks into the marriage, Imani learned that being Baek Jinwoo's wife meant becoming a ghost. She existed in his world but wasn't part of it. She wore designer clothes but had no freedom. She lived in luxury but was utterly alone. Every morning, Baek left before dawn. Business, he said. Meetings that couldn't wait. He'd return late, sometimes midnight, sometimes later, smelling of smoke and whiskey and something darker. Blood, maybe. Or gunpowder. He never explained where he'd been. And Imani never asked. Because asking meant caring. And she refused to care about the man who'd trapped her. But the nights were torture. True to his word, Baek hadn't touched her. Not sexually. But he'd claimed her in other ways, small, insidious ways that left her more unsettled than any physical violation. He'd brush his fingers along her spine when she passed him in the hallway. He'd stand too close when she poured her coffee, his breath warm on her neck. He'd watch her across the dinner table with those dark, hungry eyes, and she'd feel stripped bare despite being fully clothed. "You're playing with me," she'd accused him one night. Baek had smiled. "I'm reminding you what you are. Mine." Now, 3 weeks later, Imani sat in the breakfast room, pushing scrambled eggs around her plate, when Soyeon entered. "Mrs. Baek. Mr. Baek requests your presence in his office." Imani's stomach tightened. He'd been gone for 2 days on business in San Francisco. She'd actually slept well for the first time since the wedding. Of course that couldn't last. She found Baek behind his desk, looking as devastatingly handsome as ever in a charcoal suit. But there was something different about him today, a tension in his shoulders, a darkness in his eyes. "You wanted to see me?" Imani asked from the doorway. "Close the door." She obeyed, anxiety crawling up her spine. Baek stood and walked around the desk, holding a tablet. "I have a gift for you. I don't want anything from you. You'll want this." He held out the tablet. Imani hesitated, then took it. The screen showed a video feed, grainy, black and white. A hospital room. And in the bed. "Mom," Imani breathed. Her mother looked terrible. Thinner than Imani remembered, the chemo ravaging her body. But she was alive. Smiling weakly at a nurse who was checking her for. "She's at Northwestern Memorial in Chicago," Baek said quietly. "Private room. The best oncology team money can buy. All expenses paid." Imani's hands trembled. "You said I could talk to her. And you will. Tomorrow. I've arranged a video call." Baek moved closer. "But first, you need to understand something." "What?" "Your mother lied to you about more than just the theft." Baek's voice was cold. "She lied about your father." Imani looked up sharply. "My father's dead. He died when I was 2. He didn't die. He was killed." Baek pulled out another file, thinner than the last one, but somehow more ominous. "Your father was a Black American. And he worked for my father." The room tilted. "No," Imani whispered. "Yes." Baek opened the file, revealing a photo. A young man with kind eyes and a bright smile. Standing beside Imani's mother, both of them young and happy. "He was one of my father's best men. Loyal. Efficient. And he fell in love with your mother when she joined the organization." Imani stared at the photo. The man looked familiar. In the shape of his eyes. The curve of his smile. In her own reflection. "My father approved the relationship," Baek continued. "Even attended their wedding. You were born a year later. And for a while, everything was perfect." His expression hardened. "Until your mother decided $20 million was worth more than her family." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying your mother didn't just steal money. She killed your father to get it." The words landed like a bomb. Imani stumbled back, shaking her head. No, that's the truth." Baek's voice was relentless. "Your father discovered what she was planning. He tried to stop her. And she shot him. Made it look like a hit from a rival gang. Then she took you and the money and disappeared." "You're lying. Read the file." Imani's hands shook as she took it. Inside were police reports. Autopsy findings. Witness statements all in Korean, but with English translations clipped to each page. Park Minit-jun, gunshot wound to the chest. Close range. No sign of struggle. Suspected shooter, unknown female associate. Last seen with Madam Brooks. Oh my God, Imoni breathed. Your mother is a murderer, Beck said quietly. She killed your father. She stole from my family. And then she raised you on blood money, all while playing the victim. Imoni sank into a chair, the file slipping from her fingers. Everything she'd known, every memory, every story her mother had told her about her father's tragic death, it was all a lie. Why are you telling me this? Imoni asked hoarsely. Because tomorrow, you're going to talk to her. And when you do, you're going to ask her about your father. Beck crouched in front of her, his eyes level with hers. And you're going to watch her lie to your face. Again. I can't. You can. You will. His hand cupped her face, forcing her to look at him. Because you need to understand, Imoni. Your mother doesn't love you. She never did. You were always just a pawn. A tool. And when you stopped being useful, she sold you. Tears streamed down Imoni's face. But I'm not her, Beck continued, his voice softer now. I won't sell you. I won't abandon you. You're mine, and I protect what's mine. You don't protect me. You own me. In my world, Beck said, his thumb wiping away a tear, they're the same thing. The video call was set up in Beck's office the next morning. Imoni sat in front of the large monitor, her heart hammering, while Beck stood behind her, silent, watchful, a constant presence. The screen flickered to life. And there was her mother. Baby. Madam Brooks's face lit up despite her obvious weakness. Oh, baby, I've been so worried. Mom. Imoni's voice cracked. Are you okay? Where are you? That Chairman Lee, he said you were with him, but then everything went dark. I'm not with Lee. Imoni forced the words out. I'm in Los Angeles. Her mother's face changed. Los Angeles? What? Who are you with? Beck Jin-woo. The color drained from her mother's face. No. No, baby, you need to run. I can't run. I'm married to him. Silence. Then, what? He stopped the wedding to Lee. And then he made me an offer. Marry him, or he'd kill you. Imoni's hands clenched in her lap. So I married him. Oh my God. Her mother's face crumpled. Oh my God, Imoni, I'm so sorry. Are you? Imoni's voice hardened. Are you really sorry, Mom? Of course I am. Then tell me the truth. Imoni leaned forward. Tell me about Park Minit-jun. Her mother went rigid. Tell me about my father. Your father's dead, I told you. You told me he died in a car accident. But that was a lie, wasn't it? Imoni's voice rose. He didn't die in an accident. He was murdered. Shot at close range. And you were the last person seen with him. Her mother's eyes filled with tears. Who told you? Is it true? Imoni demanded. Did you kill my father? It's not that simple. Yes or no, Mom? Did you kill him? A long, horrible silence. Then, quietly, yes. The word shattered something in Imoni's chest. But you don't understand, her mother rushed on. He was going to turn me in. I was trying to leave, to give us a better life, and he said he'd tell Beck's father everything. He was going to get me killed. So you killed him first. Imoni's voice was hollow. I didn't have a choice. You always have a choice. Imoni's hands slammed on the desk. You chose money over my father. You chose lies over truth. And then you chose to sell me to save yourself. I was trying to protect you. By offering me to Chairman Lee? Imoni's laugh was broken. By letting him buy me like property? That's protection. I thought it would be 1 year, and then you'd be free, and would have enough money to disappear again. Again. Imoni repeated the word. We'd disappear again. Like we've been doing my whole life. Running from the people you stole from. Living on my father's blood money. She stood, shaking. You made me an orphan. You made me a criminal's daughter. And then you made me a prisoner. Imoni, please. I don't want to hear it. Imoni's voice broke. I don't want your excuses. Your justifications. You killed my father. You stole everything. And you've been lying to me my entire life. I love you. No, you don't. Imani's tears fell freely now. You love yourself. You've always loved yourself more than anyone else. More than Dad. More than me. That's not true. Goodbye, Mom. Imani reached forward and ended the call. The screen went black. Silence filled the office. Imani stood there, trembling, tears streaming down her face, feeling like she'd been hollowed out. Then Beck's arms wrapped around her from behind. She stiffened. Let go. No. His voice was quiet against her ear. You need this. I don't need anything from you. Yes, you do. His arms tightened. Not painfully, but firm. Grounding. You need to know that someone sees you. Someone understands. You don't understand. I do. Beck's breath was warm on her neck. My father was murdered too. And the person responsible destroyed everything I loved. So yes, Imani. I understand. Something in his voice, something raw, something real, made Imani stop fighting. She sagged against him, and Beck held her while she cried. For her father. For her stolen childhood. For the mother she'd thought she had but never really did. And Beck said nothing. Just held her. For the first time since she'd met him, he wasn't the monster. He was just a man who understood loss. 2 days later, everything went to hell. Imani was in the library, a massive room filled with books in Korean, English, and Japanese, trying to lose herself in fiction when Soyeon burst through the door. Mrs. Beck. We need to move you. Now. Imani looked up, startled. What? Now. Soyeon grabbed her arm, pulling her to her feet. The estate is compromised. What are you talking about? Gunshots. Distant but unmistakable. Imani's blood ran cold. Soyeon pulled a gun from her jacket. Stay behind me. They moved through the hallways, Soyeon leading, her weapon raised. More gunshots echoed through the house, closer now. Shouts in Korean. The sound of breaking glass. What's happening? Imani gasped. Enemies. They're here for you. Me. You're Mr. Beck's weakness now. Soyeon shoved her into a small room, some kind of safe room, with reinforced walls and a heavy door. Stay here. Don't open this door for anyone except me or Mr. Beck. Where is he? Fighting. Soyeon's eyes were hard. Lock the door behind me. She left, and Imani slammed the door, engaging the heavy lock. Then she stood in the darkness, listening to the sounds of war outside. Minutes passed. Or hours. Imani couldn't tell. More gunshots. Screams. The sound of something exploding. Then silence. Horrible, suffocating silence. Imani pressed her ear to the door, listening. Footsteps. Heavy. Multiple people. Mrs. Beck. A voice called. Korean accent. Not Beck. Not Soyeon. Imani held her breath. We know you're in there. Open the door. Silence. Mr. Lee sends his regards. Imani's heart stopped. Chairman Lee. The door shuddered as something slammed into it. Once. Twice. The lock held, but barely. Imani looked around the safe room frantically. No windows. No other exits. Nothing but a small air vent. The door exploded inward. 3 men rushed in, dressed in black, faces covered. One grabbed Imani before she could scream, hand clamping over her mouth. Got her, he said into a radio. They dragged her out of the safe room, through the destroyed hallways. Bodies lay everywhere, Beck's men, dead or dying. The house was a war zone. Outside, a van waited. They threw Imani inside, and she landed hard, gasping. The door slammed shut. The van started moving. Imani pushed herself up, heart racing, mind spinning. This is it. They're taking me to Lee. And Beck. Was he dead? Was Soyeon? The van drove for what felt like hours. Imani tried the doors, locked. The windows, reinforced. She was trapped. Finally, the van stopped. The doors opened, and rough hands pulled her out. They were in a warehouse district, abandoned buildings, broken streetlights, the smell of the ocean nearby. One of the men pushed her forward, toward a large warehouse. Inside, it was cavernous, empty except for a single chair in the center. And standing beside it, leaning on a cane, was Chairman Lee. He looked even older than Imani remembered. Frailer. But his eyes burned with something vicious. "Miss Brooks," he said, smiling. "Or should I say, Mrs. Beck? Such a short marriage. What a pity." Imani said nothing. "I told you," Lee continued, walking closer. "I don't forgive debts. Your mother owes me. And since she can't pay..." He reached out, fingers grazing Imani's cheek. "You will." Imani jerked away. "Beck will come for me. Beck is dead." Lee's smile widened. "My men made sure of it. Killed him in his own home. Poetic, don't you think?" "You're lying." "Am I?" Lee gestured, and one of his men held up a phone, showing a photo. Beck. Lying on the floor of his office, blood pooling beneath him. Imani's world stopped. "No," she whispered. "Yes." Lee's hand grabbed her chin, forcing her to look at him. "So now you're mine. As you should have been from the beginning." Imani's grief turned to rage. She spat in his face. Lee's expression darkened. He backhanded her, and Imani fell, tasting blood. "You little bitch. I'd rather die than let you touch me," Imani snarled. "That can be arranged." Lee nodded to his men. "Tie her up. I'll deal with her later. After I've decided whether she's worth keeping alive." They dragged Imani to the chair and bound her wrists and ankles with zip ties. Then they left, locking the warehouse door behind them. Imani was alone. She slumped in the chair, tears streaming down her face. Beck was dead. The monster who'd trapped her. The man who'd held her while she cried. The husband she'd hated and started to understand. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the empty warehouse. "I'm sorry I didn't." A sound. Soft. Almost imperceptible. Metal on metal. Imani's head snapped up. The skylight. Someone was opening the skylight. A figure dropped through, silent, graceful, landing in a crouch. Then stood. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Moving with lethal purpose. Imani's breath caught. Beck. He stepped into the dim light, and yes, it was him. Alive. Bloodstained. Furious. And behind him dropped 3 more figures. His men. "You're alive," Imani breathed. Beck crossed the distance between them in seconds, pulling a knife and cutting through her restraints. "Of course I'm alive," he said quietly. "Did you think I'd die that easily? But the photo. Staged. We knew they were coming." Beck pulled her to her feet, his hands checking her for injuries. When he saw the blood on her lip, his expression turned murderous. "Who hit you?" "Lee." "Where is he?" "Outside, I think." Beck turned to his men, speaking rapid Korean. They nodded and disappeared. Then he looked back at Imani, and something in his eyes made her chest tighten. "You came for me," she whispered. "Of course I did." Beck's hand cupped her face. "You're mine." "That's not." "I came for you," Beck interrupted, "because the thought of Lee touching you made me want to burn the world down. Because the thought of losing you," he stopped, his jaw clenching. "Because you're more than property, Imani. You're..." Gunshots erupted outside. Beck shoved Imani behind him, pulling a gun from his holster. The warehouse door burst open. Lee's men poured in, a dozen, maybe more, all armed. Beck's men engaged them immediately. The warehouse exploded into chaos, gunfire, shouts, the smell of cordite. Beck pushed Imani toward a stack of crates. "Stay down. Don't move. Beck. Stay. Down." Then he was gone, moving into the fight with lethal precision. Imani crouched behind the crates, watching in horror as the battle raged. Beck moved like a demon, every shot perfect, every movement efficient. He wasn't just fighting. He was executing. One by one, Lee's men fell. Until only one remained. Chairman Lee himself, clutching a gun with shaking hands. Beck walked toward him slowly. "Predatory. You came into my city," Beck said quietly. "You attacked my home. You took my wife. She was mine first. She was never yours." Beck's voice was ice. "She's mine. And you just signed your death warrant." Lee raised the gun. Beck moved. A single shot. Lee dropped, clutching his knee, screaming. Beck stood over him, gun aimed at his head. Please, Lee gasped. Please, I'll give you anything. There's nothing you have that I want. Beck's finger tightened on the trigger. Except your death. Beck. Imani's voice cut through the warehouse. He paused, glancing back at her. She stood, walking toward him despite the carnage around them. Don't, she said quietly. He tried to take you. I know. Imani stopped beside him. But if you kill him like this, you'll regret it. I won't. Yes, you will. Imani's hand touched his arm. Because that's not who you are. You're not a monster. She paused, the words catching in her throat. You're the man who held me when I cried. Who protected me. Who came for me. Beck stared at her, something raw and vulnerable flashing in his eyes. Then he lowered the gun. He lives, Beck said to his men. For now. Take him to the authorities. Let them deal with him. His men moved forward, dragging the screaming Lee away. Beck turned to Imani, and for the first time since she'd met him, he looked tired. Human. You saved him, he said quietly. I saved you. Imani's hand found his. From becoming something you're not. Beck's fingers laced through hers. And what am I? I don't know yet. Imani's voice was soft. But I'd like to find out. They burned the warehouse to the ground. Beck's men made sure no evidence remained, no bodies, no weapons, no trace that the battle had ever happened. And then Beck took Imani home. The estate was a disaster. Broken glass. Bullet holes. Bloodstains on marble floors. It'll take weeks to repair, Soyun said, appearing from somewhere with a tablet and a grim expression. She had a bandage on her shoulder but seemed otherwise intact. We should relocate to the Malibu house. No. Beck's arm tightened around Imani's waist. We stay here. This is our home. We don't run. Soyun bowed slightly. As you wish. She disappeared, barking orders in Korean to the cleanup crews. Beck led Imani upstairs to their bedroom, miraculously untouched by the attack. Sit, he said, guiding her to the bed. I need to check your injuries. I'm fine. Humor me. Imani sat, and Beck knelt in front of her, his hands gentle as he examined the cut on her lip, the bruises forming on her wrists from the zip ties. He hit you, Beck said quietly. Too quietly. It's just he hit you. Beck's eyes met hers, and they were filled with cold fury. I should have killed him. But you didn't. Because I asked you not to. Imani's hand touched his face. Thank you. Beck's eyes closed at her touch. I almost lost you today. But you didn't. I could have. His hand covered hers. If I'd been slower. If my men had failed. If he stopped, his jaw clenching. The thought of Lee having you. Touching you. It what? Imani asked softly. Beck opened his eyes, and what she saw there took her breath away. Fear. Real, genuine fear. It terrified me, he admitted. I've survived assassination attempts. Torture. War. And I've never been afraid. But the thought of losing you, he stopped, looking away. It unmade me. Imani's heart stuttered. Beck. I know I trapped you. Forced you into this marriage. Made you hate me. His voice was raw. But somewhere along the way, you stopped being revenge. Stopped being a debt. And became, he looked back at her. Everything. Tears burned Imani's eyes. I don't understand. I love you. The words came out rough, like they'd been torn from somewhere deep. I love you, and I don't know when it happened. Maybe when you stood up to me. Maybe when you cried in my arms. Maybe the first moment I saw you at that altar, wearing white and looking terrified. He stood, pulling her to her feet. But I love you. And I need to know if there's any chance at all, that you could love me back. Imani stared at him. This man. This beautiful, broken, terrifying man who'd stolen her freedom and somehow, impossibly, given her something else. A home. Protection. Understanding. And maybe, love. I hated you, she said quietly. I hated you so much. Beck's expression shuttered. I know. But I don't anymore. Imani's hand pressed against his chest, feeling his heart racing beneath. You're arrogant. Controlling. Possessive to the point of insanity. And you literally bought me like property. I know. But you also. Imani's voice cracked. You also held me when no one else would. You protected me from monsters worse than yourself. You came for me when you could have let me die. And you let me save you from becoming someone you'd regret. I think, she took a shaky breath. I think I'm falling in love with you. And I hate that. I hate that the man who trapped me is the same man who makes me feel safe. Who makes me feel, she stopped, tears falling. Who makes me feel seen. You are seen. Beck's forehead pressed against hers. Every moment. Every breath. I see you, Imani. And I will spend the rest of my life proving that you're more than what your mother made you. More than what I tried to make you. You're yours, Imani finished. Mine, Beck agreed. And I'm yours. Completely. He kissed her. It felt like a promise. And in the ruins of everything they'd been, they built something new. Something that looked like love. 6 months later. Imani stood in Beck's office, their office now, since she'd started helping him manage the legitimate side of his business, reviewing contracts when Soyun entered. Mrs. Beck. You have a visitor. Imani looked up. Who? Your mother. The pen slipped from Imani's fingers. She hadn't spoken to her mother since that video call. Hadn't wanted to. The betrayal was still too raw. But 6 months of therapy, both individual and with Beck, had helped. Slowly, painfully, Imani had started to process everything. And she'd realized something. She needed closure. Show her in, Imani said quietly. Soyun hesitated. Are you sure? Yes. A moment later, Madam Brooks entered. She looked better than the last time Imani had seen her. The chemo had worked, apparently. Her hair was growing back. Color had returned to her face. But she looked older. Worn. Guilty. Imani, she whispered. Baby. Don't. Imani held up a hand. Don't call me that. Her mother's face crumpled. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Why are you here, Mom? Because I needed to see you. To explain. There's nothing to explain. Imani's voice was steady. You killed my father. You stole money. You lied to me my entire life. And then you sold me to save yourself. She paused. What's left to explain? I did it for you. No. You did it for yourself. Imani leaned against the desk. You wanted an easy life. Fast money. And when it all fell apart, you sacrificed me to clean up your mess. That's not fair, isn't it? Imani's eyes were hard. You're the reason I'm here. The reason I had to marry a man I didn't know. The reason I almost died. I never meant. But you did. Imani's voice softened. And I've spent 6 months trying to forgive you. Trying to understand. And I think I finally do. Her mother looked up, hope flashing in her eyes. You were scared, Imani continued. Desperate. And you made terrible choices. Choices that hurt people. Hurt me. She took a breath. But I can't carry your guilt anymore, Mom. It's yours. Not mine. What are you saying? I'm saying goodbye. Imani's voice was gentle but final. I'm saying I release you. From my life. From my future. You'll always be my mother. But you're not my family anymore. Imani, please. Beck paid your medical bills. Set up a trust fund for your care. You'll be comfortable for the rest of your life. Imani walked to the door, opening it. But this is the last time we'll see each other. Her mother stood, tears streaming down her face. Don't do this. I have to. Imani's own tears fell. Because if I don't, I'll never be free. And I deserve to be free. Her mother walked to the door, pausing beside her. I did love you. In my own way. I know. Imani's voice broke. But it wasn't enough. Her mother left, and Imani closed the door behind her. Then she stood there, crying, grieving the mother she'd thought she had. Arms wrapped around her from behind. I'm proud of you, Beck murmured. That took courage. Imani turned in his arms, burying her face in his chest. It hurts. I know. He held her tight. But it'll get better. I promise. How do you know? Because you have me now. Beck's hand tilted her face up. And I'm not going anywhere. Imani smiled through her tears. Promise. Promise. He kissed her forehead. You're stuck with me, Mrs. Beck. For better or worse. Till death. Till death, Imani agreed. And for the first time in her life, that vow didn't feel like a prison sentence. It felt like freedom. The estate had been fully restored. Better than before, actually. Beck had insisted on upgrading everything: security systems, reinforced windows, panic rooms in every wing. "We're not getting caught off guard again," he'd said. Now, 1 year after their wedding, the estate gleamed. And tonight, it was filled with people. Beck's family. His business associates. Friends, yes, Imani had made friends among the other wives in their circle. It was their anniversary party. Imani stood on the terrace, watching the sun set over Los Angeles, wearing a stunning red gown that Beck had picked out himself. "There you are." His voice came from behind her. "Hiding from our guests. Just taking a moment." Imani smiled as he wrapped his arms around her from behind. "It's been a good year. Has it?" Beck's lips brushed her neck. "Even the part where I'm overbearing and possessive? Especially that part." Imani laughed. "Though the therapy is helping. Couples therapy was your idea. And you hate it." "I don't hate it." Beck turned her in his arms. "I just think the therapist takes your side too often." "That's because you're wrong too often." "Impossible." He kissed her, slow and deep. "I'm never wrong. See? This is exactly what Dr. Park was talking about." Beck silenced her with another kiss. When he finally pulled back, Imani was breathless. "I have something for you," Beck said. "Another gift. You've already given me too much. It's not jewelry." He pulled an envelope from his jacket. "Open it." Imani opened the envelope and pulled out a legal document. She scanned it once. Twice. "Is this a deed to your mother's company?" Beck's voice was soft. "I bought it. Fixed it. Made it profitable again. And now I'm giving it to you." Imani's hands shook. "Beck, your mother stole to build that company. But you can make it legitimate. Make it yours. Build something real." He cupped her face. "You deserve that. A legacy that isn't built on blood." Tears spilled down Imani's cheeks. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll run it. Say you'll build an empire that makes my empire look small." He smiled. "Say you'll keep challenging me and driving me insane and making me a better man." "I love you," Imani whispered. "God help me, I love you so much." "God has nothing to do with us, sweetheart." Beck's forehead pressed against hers. "This is all hell and heaven and everything in between." "Then I'll take it." Imani kissed him. "All of it. Forever." Behind them, the party continued. Music played. Guests laughed. The city glittered below like a promise. And Imani realized something. She'd come to Los Angeles to save her mother. Instead, she'd saved herself. Found herself. And found love in the most unlikely place, in the arms of a monster who'd become a man. Who'd become hers. "Ready to go back inside?" Beck asked. "In a minute." Imani leaned against him, watching the sunset. "I just want to remember this moment." "Why?" "Because a year ago, I thought my life was over." She looked up at him. "And now I know it was just beginning." Beck's arms tightened around her. "Our beginning." "Our beginning," Imani agreed. And as the sun set on Los Angeles, painting the sky in shades of fire and gold, two people who'd started as enemies stood together. Bound by blood. Bound by vows. And bound by a love that had been forged in darkness but burned brighter than any star. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more thrilling stories.